Welcome back to JB Squared. Man, unfortunately, this thing's going to come to an end here very, very soon. I'm JB Hager, and I'm with Johan Brunel, and we're going to look at stage 20 of the 2023 Tour de France. A lot of stuff to talk about. The podium is set. The polka dot jersey is set. And some other fun stuff that's in the media going along in the side view here that we'll talk about. That's all coming up on today's episode of JB Squared. Okay, Johan, it's so easy at this point in the tour to go, it's all over. It's never over. You still have to get yourself and your bicycle into Paris. And that's evidence of it today. We saw Rodriguez and Kuss go down hard, both having bloodied their faces. It's never over till it's over. And I'm sure you on the bus had to remind your riders of that every year. So this is, there's another day here.
That's why you will never hear a cyclist say, okay, because normally on the last day they say, it's all done now. They will never say it's done. Look at the day. 3 guys from the top 10 went down. We had David Gaudu, who went down in the downhill. He didn't hurt himself that much. And then we had Sepp Kuss, who had Sepp Kuss and Carlos Rodriguez went down together. Apparently in one of the downhills, Carlos Rodriguez said that he felt that a spoke broke in his front wheel and his wheel started to wobble, couldn't handle the bike anymore, crashed. Sepp Kuss crashed over him. Both of them were seriously hurt. Sepp Kuss finished the stage, but far behind, lost his top 10 place. Of course, in the big scheme, it's not that important for him or for Jumbo. But Carlos Rodriguez was in 4th. If he would have had a strong day, maybe he could have made an attempt to be on the podium. Instead, he went back to 5th because on the last climb, he couldn't hang on. So those are the things that you really need to then manage. Even in the case of Jumbo-Visma and Vingegaard, he has a 7-minute lead, but, the danger is behind every corner. And it's not always something that you yourself have in your hands. Look, Sepp Kuss couldn't go anywhere. If you look at the way the crash happened, Carlos Rodriguez went down, Sepp Kuss could not go anywhere, and he fell actually harder than Carlos. And that could happen to the yellow jersey even today, So then at some point, Sepp Kuss was in the back. Wout van Aert went home. They lost 2 riders. So at some point, Vingegaard was left with only 1 rider with him on the last climb or the 2 last climbs, Wilco Kelderman. Now, of course, if you have a 7-minute lead, it's okay. But, you want to have things, try to put as much possible factors on your side. And I listened to an interview with Frans Maassen, one of the team directors of Jumbo, and he said today was, and literally he said it was a shit day in the car. He said, we were worried about Sepp, and then it did not feel comfortable. It did not feel safe, with Jonas there, and he was kind of isolated, and they didn't have a good day today, like in the team car of Jumbo-Visma. You would think, okay, you know what, 7 minutes, nothing can happen. But it's not over until you cross the finish line in Paris.
It's interesting. It was a broken spoke. I was just talking to someone about this. Like when I first started riding, spokes were breaking all the time. It doesn't seem like that happens much anymore. The wheel technology has just gotten so much better. You just don't see it as much as you used to.
That's true. But, it still happens. anything mechanical that is in movement can break, right?
We saw the broken chain yesterday, right?
Exactly.
Don't see that much. Other stuff to talk about. We'll get to Pogačar in the win there, but Ciccone sealed the polka dot jersey. That was a cool moment, just watching him celebrate when it was settled.
Yeah, and really, really dominantly. There was his race, so that's obviously that was their race. Like Trek. I was going to say Trek Segafredo, Little Trek. Today they were focused on that, so Ciccone had to be in the break, and then ideally Felix Gall would not be in the break, and then ideally Vingegaard would not be first on the last two climbs. All these things had to fall into place for Ciccone to win. So all of that did happen. And on top of that, Ciccone won. There were 6 KOMs today, and he won the first 4. So on the last one, even it was only third category, he needed those points to be safe. And it's take away one of those 4 classifications for a rider and a team is a big deal. It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal for the rider, for the team, for the sponsors.
For Italian cycling, which we've been saying for a bit, like, where are all the Italian riders? Like, it's just not what it used to be.
The last Italian winner of the King of the Mountains is Claudio Chiappucci in 1992. It's been a while.
Yeah,
it's been a while. And actually, then the polka dot jersey looked quite cool. It's not like today. It looked okay. I sent a message to one of his directors. I'm in contact with one. I said, listen, congratulations during the race, right? I said, congratulations with the classification. But I said, man, the helmet, the pants, and the socks, it's a bit clownesque. It's a bit too much. And he said, I agree. He said, but wait until you see the bike tomorrow.
Oh no, they're adding more to it.
So obviously it's a great opportunity for bike brands to showcase, even if it's ugly. I mean, you can hardly say, a bike with polka dots, but it is, an attraction factor. And I'm pretty sure Vingegaard will probably be on a yellow bike. I don't know if he's going to be completely in yellow. I don't think he's the type of rider for that.
This is funny. Let's break down for the ceremony, for the pictures and going into Paris. What is the appropriate amount of colored gear and apparel to do?
First of all, I think a yellow shorts looks terrible.
Yeah.
The green, and especially this darker green, you could say, okay, that's still okay. So for sure, Philipsen will be all in green helmet, green jersey, green shorts, green bike, probably green socks and green gloves. Ciccone, we know it's going to be polka dots. I mean, even the glasses are going to be polka dots. The helmet, glasses,
makeup,
everything
on the face.
Yeah, even his underwear after the race is going to be polka dot. And then, I think Pogačar will just be, as normal. I mean, I don't think Colnago will make a white bike. They were there for yellow. So
that I don't think he wants to celebrate the white jersey team. I mean, he'll do it respectfully to the race, but he's not going to gloat about that. Something else that was very cool to watch today, and I'd love for you to elaborate on the relationship with Tibot Pinot and the public.
Yeah.
We've known that he is a fan favorite. He's a French favorite, very beloved. But man, what we saw today with it was basically a send-off to him for his career.
It's his region. He is from that region. Obviously knows the course as nobody else. But even if you're from there, even if you know the course, I mean, to be in that break and then to be on your own, it doesn't just happen because you're motivated. You need to be really, really strong. And I thought that for Pinot, this stage was, at some point I started to believe, like, okay, maybe he can pull this off,
If Pogačar didn't want a stage win so badly to finish out his tour, that might have been different.
I don't know. Then maybe if Pogačar doesn't go, then I think Felix Gall would have gone. At that point, they were only a minute, and you would still want to see if they're up there. I think at that point, Pinot wouldn't have been able to drop Pidcock, and he would have lost against Pidcock in the sprint. But anyways, it's kind of, I think, what needed to happen. Like Thibaut Pinot showing this incredible courage He's very expressive, facial expression. His style is like, it kind of gets you into this. Okay, I like this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then probably the not winning the stage is probably what had to happen, because once again, he just didn't get it, which is why he got so popular. If he would be winning too much, of course, if he would have been winning this stage, it would have been incredible. But yeah, I mean, his last Tour de France, the public favorite, the favorite of the French public, he must have had, I mean, goosebumps the whole time.
Yeah, they were saying something I hadn't thought of before on the move this morning. We may see, like they'll probably have when they enter into the Champs-Élysées, the Jumbo will probably go first, but then they'll probably the peloton will let Pinot go off the front and get a bit of a parade. Is that?
I don't know. I mean, it's not. Listen, George needs to understand. It's not because George did it, because he's friends with the whole peloton. that I mean, if they do it for Pinot, they have to do it for Sagan. They have to do it for Devenants.
Did George get to go off the front his last tour?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Of course he did. Yeah, of course he did. Yeah.
I don't know why that's funny. It's just he's made a lot of friends.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to do that or not. Maybe. I mean, but there's at least 3 riders who do the last tour, and probably more.
Yeah.
So are they going to do it for all those guys?
Right. Let's talk more about Felix Gall. This is a name that we were not talking about until this tour, and I mean, we're all impressed by him. So he's the one other guy. Like, it was always there's these two, and then there's the rest, but he could go with them when he needed to.
Today was the confirmation that, first of all, he finishes the tour really strong. He confirms today that he was the second best climber on stage 17. He went the second fastest up the Col de la Loze. And today he was the only guy with them. And actually, then when they were starting to play cat and mouse, he was there. He was like, why am I pulling? These guys are in front of me. Why am I pulling? But, he was going up that climb fast.
And Jonas had a few words with him. What was that?
I don't know. I don't know what was going on there.
Maybe they didn't want to get caught by the Yates brothers.
At this point, I think that Jonas was also in a position like, hey, okay, I'm fine here for GC, but I'm not just gonna let Pogačar win this stage. Because Pogačar was in a situation that he would not pull because he knew that Adam Yates was 15 seconds behind. That was a good excuse that was accepted. But, then, of course, if Vingegaard starts to pull with Felix Gall, he didn't really need to, I mean, he's 7 minutes ahead, and he has no chance. Then he has for sure no chance in the sprint. So it must have been a really frustrating situation for Felix Gall. I mean, I think he was in 8th place, or I don't know if he was in 8th or in 9th before the stage, but actually he did an amazing stage and he did not improve his classification, which is frustrating. But definitely, he showed to the world that he's a real climber. He was already the best climber in the Tour of Switzerland. Did an incredible bad time trial on the last day and lost all of his places in the GC. But yeah, I mean, he came into this race not being the leader. The leader of AG2R was Ben O'Connor. And then, Ben O'Connor didn't perform well the first week, and Felix Gall came better and better, and finally showed that he's a great climber. So the confidence that this guy will have gotten from this Tour de France will, for the next years now, bring him up. And yeah, I mean, it's too bad that he's not more skilled in downhills and in time trials. That will obviously be a problem for him. But in any Grand Tour mountain stages, from now on, this is a guy that always needs to be amongst the favorites.
And then we saw Pogačar do an attack, and then he settled in. And when I looked at the remainder of that breakaway, I was like, oh, he with his punchiness, it's like, just sit in and you can win the sprint. And he had his teammate back to help lead him out. Like, he was in a good spot and he did it to perfection. So that was good to watch.
He did a perfect race. I mean, first of all, that attack was, once again impressive, like we saw earlier on. So I was actually pleasantly surprised, and I did not expect actually on stage. I mean, if you would have asked me the night of stage 17, will Pogačar, can he win stage 20? I would say no. I said, he's not coming back from this. There's something wrong. Then I said, there's something wrong. He had yesterday and the day before to kind of recover a little bit. And today, not just during the race, but especially after the stage, if you watch him in his interview and you see his face, it's completely different. The way he looks is different. His face is not as hollow as when he was after the time trial and after stage 17. And, he said he felt back to his normal, which, now the question is that they will have to try to find out exactly what happened, right? Because I think at this point in the last week of the tour, when you have such a crisis like he had, something must have been wrong that day, and probably not just physically. I don't know if it was also mentally from the day before, the big blow he got from that huge time gap in the time trial that he didn't expect. But I mean, it was a nice comeback to win this stage, and I think this is about the best that Pogačar and UAE could expect after the deception of not winning the tour. Now finally, they have number 2 and number 3. They already won a stage before, and now they won the last stage, and Pogačar is back up there with his rival Jonas Vingegaard, who has shown that he was never in problems. So I think that's about as good as it could get for UAE to go home and say, okay, you know what? Something was wrong. We're gonna figure it out, but we know that we're up there. That next year we can come back with the hopes of winning the Tour de France intact, right? So, I mean, at least that's what I would take away from it. If I would be the manager and I talk to my rider, you analyze and you say, okay, you know what? This happened, but hey, stage 20, you were up there and you were back to being your normal self, right?
Yeah, and you've reminded us in this tour that's like, there was the wrist injury. It threw off the traditional plan, and when we have to, Johan, we have to give equal time to Jonas, or they're going to get all upset. All the Vingegaard fans are going to crucify us. But there's not much more to say than about Jonas. That he was the strongest today. He was never in problems. Nobody expected him to be in problems. He looked like when Pogačar attacked, he looked to be able to respond comfortably. Pogačar saw straight away that he was there, so there was not the conviction of, okay, I'm going to drop him. And I think it speaks a lot to Vingegaard that, he made it really a case of honor. He could have said, you know what, I don't care, just whatever. Even if he even tried to beat him in the sprint. Which was try to anticipate and surprise him. So it's not like he just wanted to say, okay, I'm winning the tour, you can win the stage. That's definitely not the case. So they fought about everything until the very last moment. Today's show is brought to you by Ventum. Check out the all-new GS1, the gravel bike. And you may not know this, but you can get into a brand new GS1 with SRAM Apex AXS for just $29.99. That's a great bike. This is, in fact, the bike that we used for Operation Get Out, where we took a bunch of people to George's Fondo. It was their first gravel bike ever. Everybody is thrilled about that bike. And then, of course, the same frame on that GS1 could be on a GS1 that you've built out with higher end components. It's always up to you. And you'll see when you're on their website how you can pick and build it up, keep the cost down if that's important to you, or just go crazy on all the components you want, types of handlebars you want, upgraded wheels if you want. It's a very, very user-friendly website and fun to build out your bike. So go give it a shot. Go check it out at ventumracing.com. And you can get 10% off when you use the code WEDO at checkout at ventumracing.com/themove. Today's show is also brought to you by Ketone IQ. I've got the bottle right here for those of you watching on YouTube. This is the bottle of 10 shots. So just part of your routine. You know, just first thing in the morning, I do a shot of this. And I've told you on this previous shows on this tour, it's helped with mental clarity, sharpness, sustained energy. One of my favorite side effects that I just dawned on me a couple of weeks ago is I've gone from having 4 or 5 cups of coffee every morning down to 1. And it's purely because of the Ketone IQ that I'm having before that. I don't know. It's just really helped a lot with, focus and energy, like I mentioned, but also gut health because I'm not drinking all that coffee. So try a subscription to it. Get it sent to you on a regular basis. Give it a few months. I guarantee you're going to feel different, not only physically, which Lance and George talk quite a bit about, but also the mental part of it. So do a subscription, 30% off on your first subscription of Ketone IQ. And that is at hvmn.com/themove. How do you think UAE feels as a whole? That had to be huge for them just to get the stage win today, the 2 podium spots. It looks pretty good.
It looks good. Listen, anybody in the whole World Tour peloton would say, wow, second and third, 2 stage wins. We had this problem, but, we are up there with, we have to be happy. They should be happy, but they came for more. At the end of the day, they came for more, This is the second best. And especially with this stage win today, I think that kind of heals a lot of what happened 3 stages ago.
Who do you think is going home as a team, not an individual, going home the most disappointed?
Wow. There's a bunch. For Total Energy, they can't be happy. Arkea, they can't be happy. Intermarché, they cannot be happy. I have a list here of teams that didn't win anything because we talked about it yesterday here. X, Lotto, Jayco, they didn't win it, but they have a 4th place and they still have the possibility of tomorrow. EF can't be happy either. They had Nielsen Paulus in the polka dot jersey for a little bit, but that's not what they came for. They did lose their leader on day 1, Carapaz. Movistar the same. They lost Enric Mas on day 1. They finished the tour with 4 riders only, and they will not win a stage. Astana, nothing. And then DSM, nothing. And been invisible in this Tour de France. And today, for example, is also one of those days that you say, "What is this guy in the race?" It's like the first time you said, like, for example, Peter Sagan.
Yeah,
we have not seen this, we haven't seen him.
And for those who don't know, he is retiring. This was his last tour.
Yeah,
and so that's why it was so nice to see the Pinot in the action on his last. Even though he didn't win, it was exciting, and we didn't.
But he was at the front and at the very front with a real possibility to win. Yeah, and you know what? Hats off today to Carlos Rodriguez. He lost the place from 4th to 5th, but man, after that crash, coming back, seeing how he was damaged. And the physical blow, but also the mental blow, like being able to be up there, come back and keep fighting. And he fought until the very end with amazing help of Pidcock and Omar Freile. I think those 2 guys were really up there with him at the end. But the guy kept fighting, and he finishes 5th in his first Tour de France. So,
and we're going to see a lot more of him. Carlos
we're going to
Rodriguez.
see a lot more. We're going to see a lot more of him for sure. For sure. Now the question remains open. Where does he go? The rumors are that he would go to Movistar. Apparently, he has a pre-deal signed, like a provisional deal signed, which is, I don't know if it's a firm, but my information also says that Ineos is trying to buy out that pre-deal, like, compensating Movistar for not taking him. I don't know how that's going to work out.
We talked about this situation earlier in this tour where, they want a Spanish star at Movistar, and this is the up and coming talent. He's the guy.
Definitely. Okay. Well, there's another one, Juan Ayuso, but he's
locked in.
Yeah, like locked in, and I don't know, till the next century, I think.
These longer deals, you've talked about that. The 5 years is a lot of these guys doing 5-year deals now.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's long. That
can work. It was similar in radio that my career. It was 3 or 5 year contracts typically, and that can work against you if you're hitting on all cylinders and things, you're on fire and winning. That's a bad deal. But if you have an injury and major setbacks, it's nice security. Yeah. It's although not many radio injuries, Johan. But it's a nice.
you can become deaf on one side.
But it's a nice security kind of thing. You just knowing where you're going to be, and especially if you're starting a family and all those kinds of situations. Anyhow, getting a little off track there. And you and Lance both got a kick out of this this article out with Matteo, and what's all going on with that? It was a little confusing to me, but you know these players better.
Well, I know these players, and I also know what's going on in the tour and how everything gets magnified out of nothing, basically, right? Because everybody's looking for news. So there was this, especially, I think it started after the time trial of Vingegaard, and him and Jumbo-Visma being so dominant, the questions and, is this normal? And so Plugge gave an answer, and, he said, we do everything perfect. We spent a lot of resources on doing this and doing this. We try to have the best people on in every single section, and then he must have said, but yesterday, for example, he didn't even name the name. He did not name the name. He said we were in our hotel with a French team. Did not say it was Groupama FDG. And I saw the riders there drinking beers, and then he said, well, alcohol is not good, especially when you're in a race and you are depleted. It's basically poison that you throw into your system. Maybe a bit exaggerated, but I think it makes sense if you look at which level these people operate, right? If everything's so fine-tuned, like to the smallest detail, then I can understand that a beer does not fit into that system, right? So he said that. Now, of course, L'Equipe, which was the newspaper that published the interview, looked into the book, and there was one French team with them. And so they said Groupama. Plugge did not say, the guys from Groupama were drinking beer. But there was a French team with us who were drinking beer. That's it. So then, of course, L'Equipe brings that interview to Matteo, and Matteo just goes off like you super, who the hell does he think he is? So anyway, so it was this whole, cycling needs these kind of little internal wars, right? And Matteo is known to be very passionate, both on the one side and then on the other side. Today, for example, I saw, because Tibot Pinot retired and it was his last mountain stage, and in his home region, they interviewed Matteo a few times. I saw 3 different separate interviews, and the 3 times he was interviewed, he started crying. He could not find his words anymore. And I mean, listen, I know Madio for a very long time, like a very long. What you also have to know is for certain guys, they make their trademark being a certain way. It's either yelling, we all know the images of Madio, allez, party, and then yelling and shouting. We all seen these images. And then on the other hand, being super passionate and starting to cry. And then I think, Madio, please. Okay. One time, yeah, but 3 times, man, come on. Oh. So, anyways, of course, I'm looking to this from a different point of view, because I know the guys, and I know that he's also taking care of being a certain personality. So we have to. I mean, I don't want anybody else. I question the if it's genuine,
or if it's an act. It's
from Madio. Yeah.
It's playing up to the press, right?
Yeah, it's people love to see it.
Yeah. If you like when these shows go long, unfortunately, that's not going to happen today. We've got a lot going on here. Mm-hmm. You still need to get on Outcomes in La Movida, and the women are here. Ali and Mari are here, and we're going to do our Tour de France Femme preview. So we're juggling things around a little bit
from
today.
Tomorrow on, a daily coverage of Tour de France Femme.
Yes, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But I do want you to touch on tomorrow's stage, but there's a very taxing logistics from today to tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I checked with. So today they finish in the Vosges, in Alsace, and of course the last stage is in Paris, and it's a very short stage tomorrow, 115 kilometers. So they start in the surroundings of Paris. So the whole Tour de France caravan, all the journalists, all the people, but also all the teams and all the staff of the teams, after today's stage, which was a very, very hard stage, they still have a 500-kilometer transfer to their hotel, where they will start tomorrow, the last stage. So, it's not all like, so no massage, massage, yeah, they probably have some kind of recovery devices in the bus, like the pressure boots and ice and whatever. But yeah. And then what I can tell you, JB, and everybody else, is that after today, the stage of tomorrow, normally today is a day of burgers and pizzas and wine and beer. So Plugge can say whatever he wants today, but they're gonna drink some beers or some wine on the bus, Or I don't think they're gonna drink champagne, because they're gonna say, well, it's not over yet. But a few guys will have a few beers, and let me tell you, after 20 days of racing and being empty like that, they won't need 3 beers to be very, very happy.
It doesn't take much, right?
No.
Can anyone beat Philipsen tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. It's still, it's very often that the last stage is not won by the favorite sprinter. He did win last year on the Champs-Élysées. He is the fastest rider. He has a team still intact to race for him. But I think a guy like Groenewegen, for example, could be up there. Pedersen is in amazing shape in the last week, like really, really great shape. So I think it's still possible. I think other than those 3, can't see really anybody else, unless Alexander Kristoff pulls a rabbit out of his hat, which he did one year, by the way. He was invisible the whole tour, and then all of a sudden, boom, Champs-Élysées, he won the last stage.
Watch Peter Sagan win tomorrow.
No, not gonna happen.
It would be fun. I'm just throwing out fun scenarios.
Well. Listen, hold on. They do predict rain, which on the Champs-Élysées is a nightmare. I mean, that's actually not fair racing, because it's those flat, tiny little cobblestones. It is so slippery. So,
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. If it's wet in the Champs-Élysées, you have the cobbles, but you also have heavy trafficked areas with cars. So all the oil and diesel and all the things that have been sitting there just could be a disaster.
But normally what will happen, I mean, if it rains, normally what will happen is they will take the time for GC at the entrance of the Champs-Élysées. That's what they have done in the past. So
so they don't have, that's their 3K out. And
the entrance, like when they start the local laps, that's going to be the
GC
time.
Safe.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's smart. Yeah. Did you ever ride in on the Champs-Élysées when it was wet?
Yeah.
And
I did it as a rider once, and then also 1 year. 1 year. I think 2005, Lance's last victory. It started to rain. They took the time on the first time on the Champs-Élysées, and actually before we got to the Champs-Élysées, like 10 kilometers out, the whole team went down. And so the judges say, okay, we're, when we but they did decide that actually in the stage, like during the stage, they said, okay, it's going to be too slippery, and
interesting. Okay, well, one last thing.
We need to talk about.
There's some, if you want to get together with the we do Johan and George, and Lance, Mallorca is coming up.
Yeah.
There's one spot left for the Mallorca trip.
In September, the last week of September, we have the Move Mallorca. It's the third year in a row. There's one spot left, one. So then that's it. There's no availability anymore. So that's.
And let me add to that, Jan Ulrich.
Yes, Lance, George, Jan, and myself.
Yeah.
So to be part of the We Do team, the Blue Train. I think it's going to be the black train or the white train. If I look at the kids, but it's going to be, it's the We Do team, right? And then a new thing we're doing for next year, which we open from today, is the Move Spring Classics. So we are going to do in the same way we did the Move Flanders this year. We're expanding to Strade Bianche in the end of February, and then Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix. That's the same kind of event. It's a 3-day event. So basically it's a ride on Friday, then it's the Gran Fondo on Saturday for Flanders and Roubaix, except for Strade Bianche, the Gran Fondo is the day after the race. And for all these 3 races, the day of the race is the VIP experience. Amazing, also limited availability, and you can check it out on the travel section on wedo.team.
Or you can email to ask for more details to travel@wedo.team. Either way. Okay. So either the email or going to the website, you'll see the travel section. All right. Yeah. Check that out. If that interests you, it might be a dream gift for somebody, you never know.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, it's especially because we are, we're keeping it very limited. So we have, during the event, we have all the time we need with the guests. We cater to a very limited amount of people. So it creates an amazing bond, and it's really a super, super unique experience.
And I think in the past, you've had a couple surprises for the guests too. Some of your European cycling friends. Yeah.
Unannounced stars who show up all of a sudden.
Never know. All right. Cool. We'll talk again tomorrow, Johan. Enjoy your day.
Okay. Thanks.